Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another episode of Trudge Report. This is a recovery-based podcast. My name is Sean and I am your host. I'm joined by my good friends and fellow trudgers. Please remember to listen on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Videos will be posted each week so you can watch episodes on YouTube and Facebook. But as always, please be sure to download on your listening platforms. Corey, what do we do to that like button?
Dude, I almost didn't come because of this.
We smashed that like button, Corey. We smashed that like button. Be like Brandon Davies. You have consent.
I don't know who that
Remember
is.
to like and subscribe on all social media outlets with the handle @TrudgeReportPod. We are brought to you by Stella Mix Podcast Management and our wonderful producer and editor, Miss Janine Stella. Good evening, gentlemen. Happy recording day. Coming to you live during the NFC Championship game, even though this won't post live. But real quick, let's start. Greg and Dan, are you guys okay? Massive snowstorm. It was 85 degrees and sunny here in Florida today. What's going on? Everything okay? Greg, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm okay. And listen, if I'm not okay, if I'm dead, you guys have all been dead for weeks. Okay.
Okay.
So this is nothing out of the norm for us bred Ohioans. Okay. Even though everybody's making a huge
They're
deal
saying
of
like
it.
the biggest storm in like 60 years.
No, dude, the
No?
blizzard of
Okay.
78 in Cleveland was way worse than this. However, I will say we got about 16 inches of snow outside. So they pretty epic. I did venture out into the wilderness tundra today, and it was kind of surreal. It almost felt like Florida, those like that like day or two after a hurricane, where it's just like an absolute
Like
ghost
eerie
town.
quiet. Yeah.
Nothing is open. Just it was very cool. But yeah, man, it's been really cold. That's the difference. The snow ain't going anywhere. It's not like it's going to melt in a couple of days, man. So,
Well, this goes back to what you and Dan were talking about a few weeks ago about like everybody freaking out, and it's like, yo, this is what you guys,
what we
this is
do.
what you do when you live there. Like,
Yeah.
get used to it.
Make sure your tires are good. Make sure you got a shovel on hand or something like that, and make sure that you know how to drive in the snow. If you don't know how to drive in the snow, stay the fuck inside. You know what I'm saying?
Call Dan; he'll pick you up as an Uber.
Yeah.
Can I listen, guys? Can I derail this whole thing for a second, just a bit?
As usual. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interrupting for a moment. Can we just talk really quick, very briefly about the fact that like traditional snow days are going away in America? They're going away. Like they're switching to virtual learning when
It's
you would stay home.
Fake news. We have no school tomorrow.
Yeah, and
Really?
my
Okay.
in-laws said they canceled Monday and Tuesday already in Baltimore.
Oh,
I was going to say
so it's
this
just
is,
New York City.
I think the third day in the last 10 that Peyton hasn't had school. So it's like,
All right, well,
we're getting snow days left and right.
That's good. I may have overreacted. But I will say that if it's already starting, I believe that we are going to see that happen.
It is something we need to keep an eye on. You're right, Corey. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
And it's
But
just it's too much.
Here's the deal, though. And now, you guys might be a little different. I mean, Dan can probably feel me on this one. But when you only have one, as opposed to like two or three where they can kind of go play with each other, when you got one, you kind of want the teachers to give them something to do. Like get them away from me for a little bit. Go do something.
Go shovel the driveway, Peyton.
Right. Well, he did today, dude. Like a champ. Like, I will say that he always wants to be helpful, but sometimes it's like he wants to be helpful to a point where it's like, dude, just go play, go enjoy yourself, go do something. So, yeah, man. Like maybe it is a little bit of blessing. I don't know about you guys, but like he's got a tablet that the school gives him. So the school that has all that stuff like loaded on it. He can do it or not do it.
Yeah, she has a laptop. I tell you one thing in this house is that virtual learning, if it involved anything to do with the parent settings, it's not happening in this house. I mean, they can. That's not
what?
Virtual learning, and it involves the parent having to moderate and set up and do all this stuff. Not happening.
Oh yeah, no, we got jobs.
Yeah, well, so yeah, you're going to expect people that have to stay home from work, that actually have to go to work, that are going to stay home and have to do this, and this. You might have to set up a babysitter and say, nope, not happening. It's just a snow day is a snow day.
The last time I had a snow day when I was still in school, And my mom eventually will listen to this. She'll hopefully get a chuckle out of this. We had a blue Cutlass Sierra that we were going to give to my cousin, and my friends and I like quote stole it, even though it was ours, and we drove it around the neighborhood in the snow. And I think I told the story. We busted the tires out because like none of us, we were like 14, 15, 16. None of us knew how to drive in the snow. This is in Virginia, getting high the whole time. That was my last memory of an actual snow day. So to your point, they were glorious. Like, yes, you get the day off. Mm-hmm. All the parents are still at work, hopefully. And like, you know, for me at that age, it's like, hey, we're running amok in the neighborhood here.
Maya was outside for probably like at least 6 hours today, and it was the greatest. Yeah. It filled my heart. I want to go outside. Her little friend Everly came over, and they were just playing. I built a snow fort, shoveled a snow fort for her, and she was just outside, just know what I mean, just hanging out, and she helped me shoveling. You know what I mean? And it's like I love it. And one of the best things about snowstorms that I love, which is probably super weird and mushy of me, is when you go outside and your neighbor's outside shoveling and you join forces like this Magnum team to take care of everything and just knock it out. You know, I love that. I don't know. I love the camaraderie of a snowstorm.
Community, baby.
Yeah, I love it, man. Driving around, you see somebody stuck, you pull over your truck, you go help them. You know what I mean? And then some kids came by and they helped us shovel, threw them some money. You know, I love seeing all that. So yeah, snow days they're awesome. And people have been asking this. We haven't had big snow in forever, right, Greg? We haven't had big snow. Well, maybe not you guys. Yeah.
I mean, we got hit last winter like crazy, but like the couple years preceding that, no, like we didn't.
Get that. And then it happens, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, there's so much snow. What are we gonna do? The
world's coming to an end.
We need toilet paper now."
Dude, both my fiance and I, she went on Friday, I went on Saturday to the grocery store, and like I said, you would have thought the world was ending or that we were in Florida preceding a hurricane. It was like that kind of mentality where it's just like, we do this every year. I'm just I'm here to get shit to make chili, bro. Like,
dude,
not end of the world doomsday prep.
I had customers calling me. It was like, "Hey, do you remember where the water shut-off valve, the main valve is for the house, so I can shut off the water before it gets too cold?" I said, "So you're just not going to go to the bathroom?" I don't understand. Right, what are you going to do? What is this?
Just in a bucket, toss it out the window. You know?
Yeah, I said the alternative is leave it on a trickle and you're fine. You don't have to go max exodus.
Do you guys remember when COVID first started and everybody bought up all the toilet paper as if it was some sort of stomach disease?
Dude,
That was fucking wild.
It's
like, dude, you don't have COVID, guys. You're withdrawing. All right. Yeah. Fine.
I never forgot it, dude, because I remember because like everything was like gonna close and it was like this big panic, right? And I was about to start this bathroom renovation. So I had to go to Lowe's that night before like Armageddon was hitting. I had to go to Lowe's that night and fill my old truck, my old Ford F-150 with 300,000 with the whole bathroom renovation job, every piece of concrete board, tile, and everything, and just load the thing. It was in the front seat on the dashboard and load it up like I'll never be able to go to Lowe's ever again. It was so
Dan's first work truck I don't know if either one of you guys even saw it. I got to see it in person.
I saw
this thing. It looked like if you asked like a third grader to draw a picture of like a piece of shit work truck, that's what it looked like.
Maya brought that home from school. Like, look, Dad.
Dude, it was so bad, man. It was so bad. 2x4 ladder rack. I just put 2x4s and I screwed them from underneath through the ceiling into the top of the truck. Yeah.
But that's like the come up, though. You know what I mean? Like that's where you know what I mean? That's where you are now.
And I don't know if you guys know the story behind that. You know, this is our life in a nutshell, man. Is that truck and some tools were given to me to start my company because somebody said that I know you can do it. Here, take this. Here's your leg up. Go do it. You know, and that's the cool stuff right there, man. So that $300,000.
That story, Dan, brought me back. Where you already said where you were. Corey and Greg, where were you the day that like COVID really hit, or like when all that shit? Because we heard about it for kind of weeks leading up, and then it was like all of a sudden there was a day. I remember mine. We were in Pennsylvania. It was obviously like March. We were visiting. I forget why we were up there during that time of year because we usually went towards the end of the year, and like slowly over the first few days we were there. Like I remember the NBA stopped. They paused the season. The Players Championship, which is like one of the 5 biggest golf tournaments of the year, they played like day 1 on Thursday, and then that was it. and like stuff started happening. And then my boss called me. I was at my old job, and he was like, "Hey, when you come back, like you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. You can't even come back to work for 2 weeks." And it ended up being like 10 days. And I'll never forget, we were visiting my in-laws, and we always try to have like a date night or like a one night out where we go get a hotel room, or there's some really cool little places up there. And we were at a hotel, and it all kind of went down like that day and that night and the next day. And it was just like, oh my God. And we had to drive back to Florida. So where were you guys at?
I was in Ohio, and I had actually just moved back to Ohio a couple months prior, and I was working with my uncle. He has a job that's very similar to what Dan does, his own company like that, and I was working with him. And then I got a job. I had interviewed for a job managing like a landscape supply company, and I got the job, and it literally happened. They coincided when my first day was supposed to be. Like 2 days before that is when the country shut down. And then it was like, they were like, oh, hold on.
Except for Florida.
Except for Florida, right? And then they're like, hold on. We're not going to not hire you. We're definitely going to hire you. You've already signed the offer letter, but we have to determine whether or not, because it was a landscape supply place, whether or not it was going to be considered essential. And they ended up getting the loophole and the workaround. Like
everybody was an essential worker for a while.
I'm serious, dude. Like Microsoft Word, essential employment letter, whatever. And I had one. It was so ridiculous.
I had one too. I remember there was a curfew for a little while in Martin County. Do you remember that, Corey? There was like a curfew, or like if you weren't an essential worker, you couldn't be out past a certain time. So we had to make sure we carried our letters with us. It was like I don't even think it lasted 2 weeks, but there was a time.
Yeah, Florida was good about it, but dude, we treated that shit like we were in I Am Legend or something. It was wild.
That was the whole country.
I just played more golf.
But Sean,
I
that's great. I was I don't remember like the specific day that like it was like, oh shit, but I will tell you that we had just flown up to New Jersey in February, and like COVID was being talked about, but like, same thing, no big deal. I was literally like, yeah, that shit's on a cruise ship. Who cares? And we got back, whatever. But me and Kyle, our buddy Kyle, had just sat down together and bought fucking WrestleMania 36 tickets, and we're stoked about it. Stoked. It was in Tampa, whatever. And then like events started getting canceled. And I remember I was in the office one morning and I was talking about WrestleMania 36, and my colleague just looks over at me and goes, oh yeah, they're totally going to cancel that. And I was like, how dare you?
And you were like, no, they won't. Like, no way.
I said that.
Dude.
I was like, no, they won't. I was like, you don't know Vince McMahon, first off. That shit's going on no matter what. And
sure enough.
Yeah, like a couple days later, it got canceled. Sucks because I theoretically would have been at Undertaker's retirement match. That was his last WrestleMania, but whatever. They did it virtual. Anyway, got there next year, but that was devastating. The rest of it, I choose not to remember, though.
Wild times.
Indeed.
So what else is going on? Anybody else got anything they want to?
Who else got high during COVID? Anybody? Oh, no? Oh, all right.
Not me.
All right.
Sorry, bud.
Well, never technically, I got the vaccine, so I probably got high.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
I actually took the needle from the guy and said, let me do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
really? I'll show you.
I can do this better, dude. Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't go in your veins, sir. Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Actually, I am taking your job right now.
I am I'll be the professional here. Okay.
Yeah.
Red means go, sir. Red means go.
Missioner's Minute Clinic has a good ring to it.
Oh yeah.
Anyway. What else is going on, guys? Anybody got anything they want to talk about, share? Any updates? Family? My girls went ice skating today in like 85-degree weather. It's kind of cool. Grace was crying as she normally does. Like I said, crying, didn't want to do it. Absolutely loved it once she got out there. Loved it. Was flying around that ice, dude. So proud of her.
That's awesome. That's awesome to watch too, dude.
Started out with the little walker thing, the little helper thing, and then by the end of it, she was just like, nope, I'm good. I'm gone. I'm doing this.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's how Maya was with the roller skating, man. The walker, and then full, you can do it. I can't do it. You know, and full tears and everything. And then I just went away. And like, if I leave her alone to do it on her own reconnaissance, she'll do it.
That's how the girls are. Sophia, like Sophia with Grace is so much better. Like Sophia helping her than with me out there. So that's how she learned how to ride a bike.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Good stuff. Corey, how's everything in your neck of the woods?
Good. I spent the weekend cleaning out my garage, and that was productive. Speaking of skating, I'm trying to teach both of my kids how to rollerblade.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Like inline.
And no skating beforehand, just right into the blading, huh?
Straight up into the blading, dude.
Love it.
I love it.
I think it's easier than
Me too.
well, first off, I think blading is easier than like the traditional like roller skates with
Quads.
the 2x2.
Yeah, because you can stay inside. It's not too.
That's
You
what
know,
I'm
like you stay inside the whole time.
Right. So, but the problem is, I don't know how to fucking teach anything, dude. I could be so good at something, and I don't know. Like even guitar. Like I've never taught guitar lessons because I don't know how to make you understand what to. I just don't.
Dude, I just got a visual image of you just sitting there rollerblading around them and be like, just freaking do it.
Well, dude, no. So this is where
Come on, with a stick.
I had to check myself. I had to check myself a little bit because, they're falling all over the place and whatever. But like, I'm getting tired of like holding their hands and shit. And finally, I'm like, all right, guys, that's enough for today. Like, let's take them off. Let's do something else. And Gabby looks at me and goes, "You've been out there 10 minutes, dude." And I'm like, fuck. All right, fine.
It feels so long though.
Yeah, it feels so long. I'm like, all right, let's do it. But
my downfall is like, I've gotten a lot better with it, but it's like homework and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's like math that I think Sophia should know how to do. And I'm like, Sophia, come on, you know how to do this. And she'll get upset or Grace. And I'm like, I've really got to be like careful with that. I thought I might have ruined reading for them at one point in their earlier years, but thank God they both love to read.
I'm good with that, dude. I'm good with the homework.
I'm good with it. I at times in the past I would get frustrated and stuff, but I'm much better with it now. And it's hard, definitely my thing.
Yeah, when they reach a word that or a problem that you think they should know, and it's just like, come on, man.
Grace will do this thing where if you're sitting next to her or with her, she'll pretend like she doesn't know, and I know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Her and Maya are like telepathically connected, dude. Maya's doing her Alexia, and she's like, "How do you spell this?" I'm like, "Dude, what? You're just doing it because she just wants me to be there."
Yeah. Hey, real quick. Speaking of school, can I just bitch about one more thing? I feel like bitching today. And I got to be honest, my prayer life has been, my morning routine, Sean, has been pretty good, but I'm still bitching. Okay. Dude, does anybody else get like a million things to spend money on from the school? They just like, dude, every other month there's a fucking Chick-fil-A fundraiser, or there's a Chuck E. Cheese fundraiser, or there's this, there's that. Dude, the Chuck E. Cheese mouse literally goes to my kid's school and says, make sure you go to Chuck E. Cheese today with your family because 10% goes to the school.
What?
And I'm like, okay, 10% goes to the school. You still want me to go spend $1 million at Chuck E. Cheese? Not like it's cheap anymore. You know what I mean?
You just say no.
The kids, they lay the guilt trip on you. No. They lay it on you, dude.
Man up.
There's readathons. There's all sorts of, whatever. I guess I'm the only. Okay, fine. All right.
Man up.
Well, yeah. I mean, you gotta pick and choose, man, or else, yeah, they're just
saying.
It's a constant money wheel,
Dude, Lucy's one more time. Lucy comes home and says, "Dad, can we go to Chick-fil-A? There's a fundraiser." I'm gonna be like, "No, the school is scamming you, and you need to tell them that tomorrow." So whatever. Anyway, I'm good, Sean.
All right, that's good. Good stuff, guys. All right, so let's get into it. This one is, we talked about it last week, and I know, Dan, you were with family last week. You missed. We talked about like the importance of writing the inventory down, like what it does, getting it out of our heads and onto paper, the process and the format of how we would write that. And then we segued that into the importance of talking about it to another individual, right? The inventory, talking about our resentments, our fears, our harms done, all that stuff. The importance of not keeping it to ourselves, the whole idea of a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. So we've spent many weeks on this whole process of inventory and resentment and fears and harms done and writing it down and talking to somebody else about it. So it kind of brings us into what I think maybe you guys would agree is some of the more like, I don't know if abstract is the right word, but it is the more like, for lack of a better way to put it, the more abstract kind of parts of the recovery process. And we start talking about, shortcomings and defects of character, and really discussing the things that we have discovered from the inventory process. Like for me, I'll never forget the word in consideration was one that just, it seemed like, and maybe it wasn't, but it seemed like it popped up more than any other word, more than any other defect, was inconsideration, being inconsiderate of others. So I want to start there. You know, we finished this inventory process. We've talked about it to somebody else. Does that mean that we should be perfect from this point going forward? Does this mean that we should just be willing to change? Does this mean that some of those defects and shortcomings and those attitudes and behaviors that were not good, are they completely gone? Are they partially gone? Like, what does that kind of look like? But mainly that question is, does this mean I'm from here on out perfect? And let's elaborate on that. And Corey, I would like to start with you tonight.
Well, I skipped this process because I am perfect, Sean.
Yes.
Get it? No. So obviously, what is your question? Does that mean I have? Go ahead.
After this whole inventory process, after getting all this stuff out, resentments, fears, harms done, writing it on paper, talking about it to another individual, we've now identified the flaws in our makeup. We've identified our character defects, our shortcomings, our personality quirks, whatever you want to call it. Does this mean now that we've identified, like, should we be perfect from here on out? Like, what does that look like? You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah, no. So I would say that the things that I identified are all rooted in things that are always going to be a part of me, to at least hopefully a small degree, I guess. I mean, I remember sitting in groups where like somebody in particular I can think about literally broke out like a list of 100 and some character defects. Like, just, and terrible. It's like, whoa, like, and he's like, if I look at this list, I'm like almost all of these. And it's like, okay, well, nobody told you to like make yourself suicidal over this process. It all roots in selfishness or fear, you know what I mean, in some form, some way, shape, or form. So like, there's always going to be a part of me I'm going to act selfish sometimes. I'm going to possibly even be dishonest out of some sort of selfishness or fear sometimes. At least I have been, and whatever. I guess a lot of those, like a lot of the big things, can be removed. I think, like, right. Hopefully, I will never drink or drug again. If God is willing, if I stay willing. That was probably my number one freaking defect, right? In a way, but yeah, I mean, definitely, we make progress. So
yeah, yep. Greg, what about you?
No, I'm not perfect, never will be, and I think that's very, very important when it comes to humility and ego and everything like that. As I mentioned last week, and as we've talked about multiple times, but when we set forth to get that inventory out on paper and to talk to another person about it, we're launching into a course of vigorous action, and that doesn't, the buck doesn't stop with just that. There's plenty more work to be done. That's just kind of the beginning, the nucleus of it all, I guess. But yeah, like Corey said, like that stuff will be with me. But more importantly, maybe it won't. But it's not up to me. That to me is the most important part. It has nothing to do with me as far as the removal of those things. I've never been able to remove them on my own at all, right? So I
can't go home and work on my own defects of character and get back to you tomorrow. And yeah, exactly.
Correct. And I think that's why it's so important that you are sharing that inventory with somebody that you really trust, but more importantly, somebody who's going to call you out on the stuff, because it's really easy to listen to somebody's sob story. It's really easy to even find, like, man, you've had a really screwed up life, dude. And I give it to you. My hats are off to you. But let's turn that around and really look at some of this stuff where, you use that to play the victim, and you did this and you did that. Like I need people like that in my life,
Right.
you know, and definitely in this process to be real and raw and honest with me so that I can see, you know, better look in that mirror, you know, because I've been looking in the same mirror my whole life. I've just been looking past the things that I don't want to look at, you know, and I need somebody to help me through that process. But yeah, man, like I have to take this stuff to God, and you know, do I know that they'll all always be there, or that some of my baser instincts will always be there? I don't know, because it's not up to me to remove them, right? Like I pray that those things be removed, but as my higher power sees fit, not as I see fit, because you know I don't know. So yeah,
And some of those, God might still be using some of those defects for a better
right.
purpose, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit tonight, I think. But it's I can be my job is to be ready to have them removed. To your point, it's God's job to decide when they actually are going to be removed, and maybe which ones He wants to keep. And you know, some of them can be beneficial too, for some things. So, Danny, what about you?
Yeah, I
Are
mean,
you perfect, Dan?
yeah, definitely not. But you just said it
Nice
without
hat,
saying
by the way.
oh, thanks. Carhartt City, but I actually work like a Carhartt person, so it's a little different.
Nice.
It's City Slicker, Greg, but I actually work like a Carhartt.
I said
Yeah,
you could build a house.
I know. I love listening to you guys. Oh man, but you just said it, Sean, but without saying the actual word, willingness. I mean, everything to do with each of these things is willingness. You know, and I feel like it all incorporates together, and it's all set up in line, you know, to do things in a certain order, you know, to build that foundation to where I'm not perfect, but all of a sudden I get to a point of openness and willingness to realize and recognize when I am not perfect and what I am supposed to do after the fact. You know, it's
Right.
like a clear cut set of directions of like, you know, giving it defects of character and shortcomings and where I was selfish and all these things that we say to another person, we write down. And then when we go back to our place and we actually take these things in to where we're now in an open, willing place to recognize these things when they happen. Because
Mhm.
for me personally, it's I feel it. You know what I mean? It's not like I recognize it like I'm some, you know, wizard that all of a sudden knows right away. I feel it inside because I've
Right.
openly and willingly accepted God into my life and to move forward on things to like, you know, what am I going to do here? And sometimes you just got to let things be. Like you guys said, is that, you know, all in God's timing. You know, it's like,
Right.
I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I just, you know what I mean? Just, I have these things and these people in place, you know, to protect me from me, you know?
Well, and that's it. Like Corey, and you hit on it too. My You could argue that my biggest character defects when I got here, the biggest ones, the most overarching ones, was I drank too much alcohol and I used drugs too much. I personally shoplifted and was like a thief, and it wasn't just shoplifting. I would steal from like anyone, and I was also not. I wasn't loyal to the women that I dated when I was out there drinking and getting high before sobriety. God took those things pretty quickly, like very quickly. I will say that I did shoplift in early sobriety still from the store, the little Rio market near my halfway house, a couple of times. But like ultimately, I don't drink anymore. I don't get high anymore. I haven't for 14 and a half years. I don't shoplift anymore. The other day I walked out with a case of water on my shopping cart at Walmart, totally forgot about it. And like I didn't go back in. I was like, I'm always there. So I was like, I'll just double click it next time. And sure enough, I was there like 2 days later and I like double charged myself for something or whatever. But I don't shoplift anymore. I am definitely loyal to my significant other. And I have been, so like, those are the four biggest things that God took. Now there's a lot more intricate stuff and intricate defects and shortcomings. And I think for the purpose of this conversation, we should just say that like defects and shortcomings are the same thing. People are going to try to like make them different. I think they're the same thing. I think that the people that wrote the recovery literature that we all subscribe to just simply didn't want to use the same word over and over again, too close in proximity. But Dan, you hit it on the head. Like, I've got to a point in my sobriety where I truly wanted a certain behavior to stop. Like I truly had the desire to have God make me less selfish and less this or less lustful, less whatever, fill in the blank. And that, I think that's a big thing. I did my inventory, and yes, I wanted those things to be removed, but like I truly, got to a point with certain behaviors that I was 100, like I felt it in my core, like it was a conviction inside of me rather than just like, oh yeah, I think I want to stop lying. It was like a conviction in my core. So that brings me to my next question. This idea of being entirely ready or partially ready, what are some defects? And I want each of you to elaborate on this. Like, what are some defects that each of you and myself included, we held on to, we still hold on to, that we maybe it quote goes away for a while and we snag it back? Greg, let's go to you first. Like, what are some defects that you still hang on to, and what does it mean to be entirely ready versus partially ready?
Well, yeah, I think that entirely ready for me was the stuff like the dishonesty, like the flat out like lying to the people I loved, stealing from the people I loved. Certainly the way in which I treated women, for sure, like those things. I wanted to have removed, and for the most part, like they were removed. But the thing is like you said, like it's entirely ready or partially ready. On those partially ready things, it's like, yeah, I can see where 95% of this, I want to give this up to God and just be rid of it. But this little 5% nugget over here, like I want to keep for myself. And it's funny the way that works, right? Because those kind of things, it feels almost as if it's serendipity or karma or whatever you want to call it. But those things will, in my experience, crop up in your life even more, right? Or the temptations for those things will crop up in your life even more, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times it just comes down to like, am I living a God-centered life? Because if I'm not, I could very easily give into the temptation of certain things, to lie, to cheat, to steal, because I on my own am a flawed person, and flawed people usually do things that hurt other people or themselves. And so I think that, that partially ready, it sucks. It's not, it's real. It's, it's being real about it. Like, yeah, if I don't give it all up, like that stuff absolutely has cropped back up in my life here and there, but the stuff that I was entirely ready to get rid of and prayed and asked for that kind of stuff to be removed, I found that it was maybe not immediately. Maybe it wasn't like I had like a white light experience over it, but I found over time it was like those ingrained behaviors that I had been so accustomed to for so many years kind of just went away.
Mine was easy. Mine was the self-righteous, not just self-righteous anger, but just self-righteousness in general was one of the defects that I have been at times not willing to let go of, because like some of our literature says, who of us don't like to feel a little superior to the next person? Mm-hmm. Hell, my wife just told me the other day that I can be a little judgmental still sometimes. And at first I was like, in my head, I'm like, how dare she? And then I'm like, yeah, but you know what? It's effing true. It's effing true, Corey, what about you? Defects that you want to hang on to, entirely ready, partially ready? What's up?
I just want to say, if people would act right, we wouldn't have cause to judge them.
Exactly, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
If they would just do what we tell them to do, Corey.
I don't even want to have to tell them, to be honest.
They should just know.
Just fucking act right, So to your question, so when I first went through this whole process, I remember calling one of our good friends who I haven't spoke with in forever. Hopefully he's doing well, but and I told him, what was going on, where I was in this whole process about defects of character and being ready to have them removed. And he was like, "That's great. You sound excited about it. Like, that's awesome." He was like, "But let me ask you something. Just a question. Like, are you entirely ready to have God remove all of those defects of character?" And that was the first time I had thought like that there shit like that was the first time I had doubted myself in that since identifying those defects character.
Yeah.
And at the time I remember the one thing I could come up with is like, well, I don't know, like egoism, I guess. You know, being a little egocentric. I rely on that a lot, actually. Like it's a false sense of ego a lot. Like the way I, at least at the time, would approach girls is like, I'm gonna act like I am God's greatest gift to you that I'm talking to you right now. You know what I mean? And that got me to make the approach. Like that.
And that worked, huh?
I mean, Dan knows my track record. It's not great, but um, but yeah, like if I can manage to convince myself that now that we've met, you cannot live without me, then I'll be able to be funny enough as a result of that and be this and that, whatever.
Yeah, and that all ties into the not being perfect. Every one of us has that thing. You know what I mean?
For you specifically, I think it's a self-worth thing sometimes. Like,
it's protection, man. Everyone has that. You know what I mean? Everyone has.
What do I tell you? One of these days, you're gonna wake up and realize that like you're worth it, just like everybody else is, and you're gonna like start taking some of this SHIT even more seriously than you do, because a lot of it you do take seriously, and a lot of it you know. I'd go to recovery trivia with you any day.
Whatever.
Your bill for this therapy session is $395.
Yeah.
Get out to the Trudge Report.
And your copay is $175.
Yeah. Corey, I'll keep laughing as you protect yourself. I'll
but
be here.
Do you see my
it.
Yeah. Do you see my point though? Is like 100%. I still like to, and I really even right now don't have that much of a desire to give too much of that up. I would like to, like, as long as I'm not saying I'm always, but like as long as I'm like happy and content, like when nobody's around, I like acting out a little bit when people are around, and maybe I should take a better look at that. But I guess I'm not willing, Sean. But that's my whole point is so I wasn't willing. I wasn't entirely ready to have all of them removed. And, you know, our literature says we just pray for the willingness. And I guess when it comes or whatever. But I definitely wanted to stop lying to people. And I do a pretty good job about that. I think I've been dishonest. I'm sure. Well, I know I've been dishonest over the years. But like I definitely, majority of circumstances these days, I'm pretty honest. Not so much with you guys, but.
Danny P, what about you? What are some things you're holding on to, or that have benefited you over the years or protected you? Right? Some of these are like protection and survival things. And what does it mean for you? Entirely ready, partially ready?
Yeah, I think I mean what Corey just brought up was a good point, because we all have like little things that just like are like personal protectors. You know, like it's like someone I know that, you know, everything's comedy, always comedy. You know what I mean? No matter, so you can't get a serious moment because it's the protection instinct. You know, and that for me, that all ties into the you know, you can see people that want to be perfect and think they're not being perfect that will also get high and go dig their own grave. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a double-edged sword of like, we want to do all these things, you know, but if you have to do all these things and have to be perfect, it's the same thing as not doing them at all. You know, because it's the same thing that'll drive you out. You know, and but I mean, for me, I think personally, everything stems from fear. You know, like everything stems from fear. No matter what you do, stems from fear. You know, whether it's my ego, whether it's my self-seeking on things, you know, like anything at all, it all stems from fear of not being enough, fear of I mean, anything. I really think it all stems from fear, because the fear always drives me to act differently. And then eventually I realized that this is fear, you know what I mean? That I have to face it up and I have to do something, you know? And, yeah, I mean, that's really what the main thing for me is fear. It all stems, you know, I don't think there's like a specific things, because I think it all stems from that one that I get better at, but I'm not perfect at.
Yeah. Yeah. I never forget, like, going through this process for the first time. I was having this discussion with my mentor, which, side note, I spent Saturday in Arcadia, Florida, which is Peace River, with Ron's family and a couple close friends. They had a little family get together. Wonderful time. Peace River is beautiful. I forget how beautiful it is. Had a great time. And I do have a new mentor. I did ask someone. I think I told you that, Corey. I did ask someone. I'm sorry, Corey. I didn't take you and Tyler up on you co-mentoring me, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Literally was going to give you a discount.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll tell you what. Not to take this too far, but I lasted 8 days after Ron passed away before I asked who is somebody that I've known for years, has like 37 years of sobriety, and has always been the person that I said I was going to ask. But it was really important to me not to go too long without one, right? Because I can't, we're not preaching, but I can't preach what I preach and do what I do and say what I say and be who I am if I don't have a mentor myself, right? And I've always prided myself on that, so I do have one. Spent the weekend with Ron's family. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. Saw some of his family I haven't seen in over 10 years. But anyways, when I was going through this process, we're in the truck after the writing down portion and then the telling portion of my defects and resentments and all that stuff. And we're talking about being entirely ready and can God remove all these things. And I was trying to intellectualize something and I wasn't doing a very good job. And he comes to a stoplight, puts the truck in park, turns to me and goes, "What? Is your God not strong enough? Is your God not powerful enough?" And, there was a really good lesson in there because prior to that, right, we have to make a couple decisions and a couple conclusions of the mind that either God is, is everything or else he is nothing, right? God either is or he isn't. So how can I say God is everything and then turn around a little while later and be like, well, I don't think he can really remove, he's not going to make me less selfish. Like I have to do that. He's not going to help me lie less. Like I have to be the one, just don't lie, but no, the truth is, and goes back to what you said, Greg, I cannot work on my own defects of character. The same sick mind that got myself here cannot heal itself. I have to have God's help. We spend the good majority of the entire recovery process leading up to this part learning and understanding and internalizing that God is the answer and that without him I am nothing and without him I am lost, right? So I think that's a really important part of this step. And then the easiest, simplest, cheesiest way to put it is this part of the process is somebody equated it to me of cleaning out the garage, getting everything ready and putting it out by the side of the road. And the next part, which we'll talk about next week, is calling the Salvation Army or Goodwill or whoever and having them come pick up all that stuff and take it away, get it away from here, right? Removing these shortcomings. This part of the process, though, is just getting it ready for pickup, right? Getting it ready for God. I'm fully ready and willing for God to be the pickup. So it's good stuff. Wild ending. I'm just watching now. I'm sure all of us are watching as well.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Let's go real quick to this is a bit of a, and I think this kind of goes to what you were saying, Corey. How do I distinguish between defects of character and my personality, right? And I think it goes exactly to what you were saying, Corey, because part of the curmudgeonness that you are and the grumpy, that is you. Like that is you. And it is one of the things we love about you because it is funny. It is entertaining. It's your shtick, right? Like that is part of your personality. But I think at a certain point, it can be a defective character.
I'm definitely not the guy that walks around like as great as life is. And even if I am grateful as hell in the moment, I don't walk around like this shit is awesome, guys. You've got to try this God stuff. Like, because I think it's off-putting, first off. I'd rather like, and I mean, we kind of do this in general, but I'd rather talk about the hopelessness of alcoholism, and then we can talk about like the solution to it, rather than just blast everybody I meet with God is awesome, and like life is great because of it, and all, even it's true as it is. It's just the way I am. But yeah, I also like the humor and cynicism, and Like, I really enjoy that, and I enjoy being like a cynic and whatever. But so yeah, I guess where it becomes a defect for me, if me personally, I think there's a line somewhere. There's a threshold somewhere where it goes from like humor and
Yeah.
like playfulness and whatever to, you know, like okay, now me and some friends are gossiping or something, and then like I say something that I think is funny but also would be hurtful. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
That's an important distinction, I think.
Yeah, like humor at other people's expense isn't always the nicest. Again, I don't think I'm even entirely ready to give that up, to be honest, because sometimes it's really funny, and I'm like, I can make people laugh with this, you know?
And who of us don't like to feel a little superior to the next
Yeah.
person?
Exactly. So, I mean, you guys are well aware. I make lots of jokes, but so yeah, that's where the line is somewhere in there. And I do make sure to include in my prayers in the morning, specifically for God to remove anything from me that He can't use, root and branch, all that stuff.
That stands in the way.
And what happens is like to our point, which we've already covered a few times, I think, like I can't work on these defects of character. What I do notice when I'm praying about them, I become more willing, and I definitely start to see it throughout the day. You know what I mean? Where I would be lazy as hell or not help with the laundry or something. A lot of times, if I'm praying for these things, I will notice that in the moment rather than a week later when my wife is pissed as hell. So that's a plus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The distinction between personality and defect of character is it's a thin line for this one.
Well, I think to your point, when it now becomes gossip or purposely trying to make fun of somebody else or throw a jab, I think that's defect, right? That's not
right.
Because like even you who likes to be grumpy, you're not like innately a mean person and out there trying to hurt people per se, right? We inevitably do inadvertently, but sometimes.
Well, when it's under the guise of you know, this is just between me and the guys, and that person will never hear it.
Right. How many group threads have I asked you to take me out of over the years?
I don't think any. What do you mean?
That's not true. Not in a long time.
About to take you out of the Trudge Report group chat tonight.
Yeah. Danny, what about you? What's the distinguishing between what's a defective character and what's part of our personality, or are they one and the same?
Yeah, they're definitely not one and the same, because like Corey was saying, that fine line, you know what I mean? It's like where it becomes negativity or negative towards another human being. Like it's going to be negativity towards me, then eventually I'm going to feel it to a point where it's going to be a real issue. If it's negative towards another human being, that's also going to be an issue for me. And that's like we pointless banter and like Corey said, and gossiping and all that stuff, like that's all well and good, but it's not, like everything has its point on things, and you can josh around with the guys, and that's like I think that's also a fine line too of saying you can never do it. It happens, it's part of life. We have to be real about it too, that this is just, what I mean, how people talk sometimes in group threads and this and that and the other thing, and it's just like, what do you do with that, like, and things like that. Where we've had serious issues in group threads before where apologies had to be had and all kinds of crazy things, right, Greg? Little fantasy stuff, you know what I mean? Like there's always, there's a fine line of joshing around.
I've heard the stories.
Yeah, and then there's the fine line of where you just, you're having fun with the friends and it's all good and no one's getting hurt, And but yeah, I mean, talking, how you talk, how you speak to someone, talking at someone, talking to someone, things like that. Like the defects of character come out. Like I said, for me, the biggest one is fear. And when I'm fearful, the protective wall comes up, and I'll say things that I think will protect me, but they're actually a character defect of me putting harm to others. And that's like that's noticed, from doing all these things in order, that you start to notice these things of how you're being. My biggest defect is I'm honest to the point of where I'm harmful to others. That's one defect that I know I have, because I just always feel that I have to be honest no matter what. but I don't also take into account the other person with my honesty, and it's like, it might be true, but that doesn't make it right, like, and
Yeah.
that's like a distinction that I struggle with a lot, because I always just say what's on my mind and without taking the other part into hand, and then I have to apologize afterwards and all that jazz. I'm pretty sure I did that to you, Corey, right? That was in the last like 2 months.
You'd have to remind me.
Well,
You probably owe me an amends.
Yeah, 100%.
I think too, like you said, Dan, I don't think there's anything wrong with the honesty and always being honest. I think, there's a way to say, I believe, and I was taught and I've experienced that there is a way to say anything that we need to say to another individual in the appropriate manner, right? Like, and are we perfect at it? Back to that first question. No, absolutely not. We're not perfect. We got to come back and be like, hey, man, I came off a little sideways to you. And that'll obviously lead us into further conversations on this podcast. But it's like, when I become aware that I have done wrong to someone and I see it, sometimes it takes me a little while, right? Sometimes I'll be made aware of it and I'm just like, no way. No, I didn't. It's fine. They're fine. I don't need. And then it's like, usually a few hours or a day or two later, I realize like, man, I need to clean this up with that person, or I need to apologize for my attitude or my tone or whatever the case may be. So, Greg, what about you?
I think there's
you?
a fine line, like the guys were saying, for sure. But I also believe that my character defects can be turned into positive personality traits. But again, I can't do that on my own. So build with me and do with me as thou wilt, right? I'm the clay, you are the sculptor. So in that breath, we can look at these kind of things where I always go back to like my anger. My anger felt for so many years like a warm blanket, and it was the protection thing when the walls would go up, and that would keep me safe. Now I know that, and have known for some time that resentment is the number one killer, right? And it does. So yeah, I want to be free of those things, but sometimes though that I don't want to say, like red hot anger, but some of that stuff can be motivating, right? Like if I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm so angry at myself because I ate whatever I wanted over the holidays, and I put on a spare tire again, and like I can get angry at myself and I can use that as motivation. Some people will go ahead and say, well, that's not healthy. Well, you know what? Neither is being an extra 25 pounds. So it's like, one or the other here, but yeah, with a lot of other stuff, the fearful. Do I want to live my life in fear? Absolutely not. And for the most part, I don't nowadays. But it is a driving force. I think it always will be for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And at times, I can be fearful. I feel in a good way. Like I'm not overly trusting of people, and again. So there's always a flip side to that coin of, you shouldn't be like that. You should listen. I pray all the time, daily for, hey, if you've got somebody that needs my help, that needs something, like you see fit to put somebody in my path that I can help, or be, just a good example of what a somebody living a God-centered life is. Like I'm here for it, whatever. But like I'm not overly trusting of people, and hey, because of that, like I know that my family's safe when I lay my head down at night. Like I know that I'm not allowing a whole bunch of random people into my life. I don't for example, like a lot of other parents would be cool with their children like being on an Xbox playing online games with random people. Not in this house. That's not happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's that certain level of stuff that I think that can be turned into assets for sure, and positive personality traits. But again, that's not on me to do that. It's just on me to pray for the willingness and the openness to do so.
Yeah. Listen, I think the moral of all of this is that we are all still works in progress, especially Corey. He's got a long way to go. But it's Here's the important thing. I don't think any of us have the desire to be perfect, right? I'm not out there like upset because I didn't get, I didn't have a 4.0 GPA, like those kids in school who get like an A minus and they're upset because they have to be perfect. I'm not out there trying to be perfect. And I think by not trying to be perfect and not having the desire to be perfect, that actually gets me further along and a little closer to, as I learned in Tranquility Bay when I was in Jamaica, we strive for excellence, not perfection. And I've always kind of clung to that. Like, I think that's a much better thing to strive for, but I don't have this desperate desire to be perfect that's eating up space in my head or letting me lose sleep because I'm falling short of it. And I'll never forget one of the things I was taught early on in sobriety, when we have our readings, like all the different books we have that have like readings, those readings are perfect ideals, right? Those readings were set forth by the people who came up with this stuff and wrote this literature. They are perfect ideals. They are things for us to strive for, but being okay, knowing that we're never going to fully get there. And I think that actually allows us to get a little further along than we think, So
Yeah, I think too. There's things that like as we go, like for me, man, like like coaching, dude. There's things that we can put into our lives that help us become better people. Like there's things that you do. Like I don't know if you guys have like I just knew like that feeling. And even Alyssa says it's like you have to do this. While you were doing this, you were becoming a better. You know what I mean? Like, and I just feel like there's things that like we can use like character defects and stuff can be a positive in this, like we were just talking about. There's things you can put in your life that just accentuate to the excellence point. That's still putting the work in. You know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely. So good stuff, guys. Anybody got any last minute things before we wrap up?
UConn women and men, 40-1 combined.
And we'll talk. We'll have a little. We'll either have a little mini segment next week, or we'll take to our YouTube channel and maybe put a full thing on it. But the Super Bowl is set, boys. Super Bowl is set. We were all watching it in real time. Wild ending, great game. Your Seattle Seahawks versus your New England Patriots, polar opposite ends of the country. It should be, if nothing, hopefully a great game and a great Super Bowl. So,
will it be another goal line ending like the last Pat Seahawks?
We'll see.
Run the fucking ball.
Yeah, run the ball. Run the ball.
All right, boys and girls, shout out to our listeners. Please like, follow, and share on all socials at Trudge Report Pod. Email us, trudgereportpod@yahoo.com. Send in your mailbag requests for topics, questions, comments to any of these handles. Remember, we are all here if anyone wants to talk about recovery and our experiences, or if you're struggling with some form of addiction. Thank you again to Janine and Stella Mix Podcast Management. Good night. God bless. Stay safe. And may you trudge the road of happy destiny. We'll see you next week.